Getting back into doing a little bit of silicone molding here. I just wanted to say that it's been a couple years since I've done it, but I'm now using this MoldStar 30 Platinum silicone rubber. As you can see on the date there, I opened it up January 2021, and it's still good. I just made this last night, so it's still good. The problem I was having, I was using OOMOO before, and I was lucky to get 6 months shelf life out of it after I opened it. But this stuff, like I say, I opened it up 2 years ago and used it, half of it, and it's still good. So if you're like me and you only do occasional molding of things, you might want to try the MoldStar. It seemed to have a lot better shelf life once it opened. So you see some of my tools here. I use this big guy for measuring how big of the mold needs to be. I fill the cavity with it and measure it that way. Then I've got 3 different sizes, other sizes here. I got these are going to use this mold only needs like 4 cc's, so I got 3mm syringes here, and then a 6 and a 12. So different sizes. This guy's a 35. So you need a variety of tools. I also go through a lot of popsicle sticks, and I have these little I don't know what they are. You can get them medicine containers and things. These look like little shot glasses or something. I've marked on them. And then these are like pill bottles or something. Just use them for mixing it in and pouring it. One other thing I use is the, well, hold on, I'll just pause the video and get one. Yeah, so I also use these plastic trays from Lunchables or something like that. Sometimes I make the actual mold for the silicone out of it, or I mix the plastic in it. That's actually what I'll be doing this time, is mixing the plastic, because it seems to release pretty good from it, and they're throwaway. I mean, you know, you can recycle them, whatever, but they're cheap to get, basically. So yeah, so those basically the tools I got. So I'm mixing up Smooth Cast 320 here, and this stuff was opened a year ago too, and it's all good. The plastic seems to last a lot longer than the silicone molding materials does. Seems to have a lot longer shelf life. I've got some of this. I'm sure it's well, it's like 6 years old, and it's still good. But one critical thing is, like, so what I'll be doing for this mold of I'll use each one of these. Now, I label this one like blue or what have you. Open the top up, pull it up with the syringe. Then if you get too much, you can squirt it back in, but just make sure that you don't squirt it back in the wrong one. That would harden up for sure. But the other thing I've had problems with is you can't even intermix this between 2 different types of the plastic. So get a bunch of the small ones and just use them once. Or if if you're doing it the same day a couple times or what have you, and you only got one type, you should be fine. But I like color them. You can't color white. Well, I guess you could, but so I color the one blue with a blue marker, like up here on the top or something, the handle, what have you, just to keep the 2 separate. And then I don't even lie them side by side, because if when this goes in there, the outside of it gets the chemical on it, and if you happen to dip that in there, you'll harden the whole jar up. So you have to be very careful about that type of thing. I did that by accident once. So anyway, just a few tips there. Like I say, I've switched to the MoldStar from OOMOO because it seems to have a lot longer shelf life when you only make little things like this. So everybody have fun with their casting. So here I've got my 4 cc's of plastic mixed up there. So I'm going to pour it in the mold here. Looks like I may have made a little bit more than I need. most of the time it's better to have too much than too little. Oh, hopefully mold the ceiling. I don't see any rivers of plastic running, so it looks like it's working, which is good. So the other thing I meant to mention, so like I say, I take the syringe and with the lid off, dip it in. I do the two independently. I do one, squirt it into the mixer, put the lid back on, take the other one, take the lid off. Now when you suck it up and you get the right level, put the lid back on your container, so there's no way when you're squirting it into the mixing area that any of it can splash up and into your container, because if it does, you'll harden the whole thing. So just some little safety precautions you have to take there. So the other thing I do, I rinse the syringe out. I find the blue syringe seems to work fine, but this one's in case yellow lid, I rinse out in a container I have here that says not for food use, and yeah, it's nasty. It floats on the water, but that way you can reuse the syringes, because if you don't, especially the yellow container, if you don't rinse the syringe out with water, it will like dry up and be unusable. So they're just little hints I've had. I've been doing this for like pushing 20 years now, so I used to do it a lot more than I do now, but yeah, it's interesting. I'm making this thing here. It's for my son. It's a part of a racing go-kart engine block. The camshaft bearing, it cracked due to pressure or something, so he's going to try to machine up a steel ring and mount on it to back it up, but he can't get his any type of measuring instrument that deep into the engine block to measure it, so he wanted me to make this. Here's what I'm talking about. There's a 5-horse bridge racing block Raptor. This part here got a crack in it where the camshaft mounts, so he's going to try to make a steel ring that goes around there, but you can't get calipers or anything in there. They're all too long. So anyway, that doesn't have anything to do with silicone molding, but just explaining what this little contraption here is actually for, because the molding process is accurate to within, give or take, 1/1000th of an inch. It can be reproduced very close dimensionally. So anyway, I recommend MoldStar over OOMOO if you're like me and you don't use it very often, because like I said, it's had a 2-year shelf life and it's still good, as is evidenced by this mold here. So everybody take care and have a good one. So here it is, most of the way through the hardening process. It still has to harden just at the little tips there where it's thin, but most of the way through there. So I'll show it, take it out of the mold and show it when it's complete.